Alright, what's good y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So for the last couple of weeks here, we've been speculating and theorizing about a lot of different things regarding the possible story, timeline, and a bunch of other different things for Pokemon Legends ZA. But for now, I want to be a little bit more childish. I want to take a step back and talk about the real reason as to why we're all excited right now. Yeah, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. We're talking about the Mega Evolutions that I would really like to see going into Pokemon Legends ZA. So at first, I was just gonna do a general little like, okay, here's a couple of Pokemon out of order, yada yada yada, but then as I looked through the entirety of the Pokédex, I realized that there's a lot of Pokemon with a lot of potential, and just Pokemon I think deserve the Mega at this point. So I've done myself and you guys a little bit of a favor and organized the Mega Evolutions I would like to see by generation. And so now we are going to go generation by generation down this list talking about the Mega Evolutions I would like to see. Now, I have said I a couple of times in this video, and that's because this video is specifically dedicated to the Pokemon that I would like to see with Megas. However, I want to dedicate a video talking about what you guys would like to see as Mega Evolutions. Sometime very soon after this video goes up, I'm gonna go to the community tab and put up a prompt asking you guys what Pokemon you guys would like to see as Mega Evolutions in Pokemon Legends ZA. Enough responses, and as per usual, we'll have a video for you guys within the next week or so. Cause let's be honest, Mega Evolutions coming back is one of the most exciting aspects of this game. Of course, that's not the case for everybody, as I've seen, but it's very exciting nonetheless. Anyways, this is a pretty meaty list and we should probably get going, so let's go ahead, strap in, and talk about some of the Mega Evolutions I would like to see going into Pokemon Legends ZA. Starting off with Generation 1, if you know me, this is a very obvious one, but we're gonna go ahead and start off with Dragonite. If you know me, you know that Dragonite is one of my top 5 favorite Pokemon of all time, and it is literally so cute, but it can also be so strong. It literally has one of my favorite dragon designs. I just love it so much. Once we got our hands on Mega Evolution, and I saw that literally both Salamence and Garchomp got Mega Evolutions, I was sure that at some point down the line, Dragonite would get one as well. Only to find out that was not the case at all. I don't understand why, if these other pseudos can have Mega Evolutions, why Dragonite can't have one as well. If they get to be overpowered, so does Dragonite. Fight me on it. Next along, we have Sandslash. Now, of course, it doesn't absolutely need a Mega, especially since it got a regional form that actually makes it a lot more viable and a lot cooler. However, I would still like to see it with a Mega Evolution. This like armadillo thing with even bigger spikes and stuff like that would be really cool. After Sandslash, we have Ninetales, who I also thought was eventually a shoo-in due strictly to its popularity and design. It's just begging for a Mega Evolution. I could absolutely see its Mega getting some kind of like aggressive style, something along the lines of maybe Kurama from Naruto or something like that, but I could be getting ahead of myself. I'm just saying there's a lot of potential with Ninetales, and I really feel like it deserves one more than a lot of different Pokemon. After Ninetales, Poliwrath, because Poliwrath is so cool and so underrated as a Mon in a lot of different aspects that I feel like some bigger gloves and just a bigger design, maybe something a little more muscular, maybe not exactly like Swampert, but something close to that, I could really see that working out. Overall, just a really cool Pokemon that could absolutely benefit from the buff. I would love to see that. And lastly from first generation is Snorlax, simply because it's already a wall. It should absolutely get a Mega Evolution that turns it into a Steel type as well, making it an absolute brick to try and get past if you don't have the right setup. As one of the faces for Pokemon since first gen, I also figured that Snorlax was literally a shoo-in. Who doesn't know Snorlax? And of course, this is not me disregarding the fact that it already has a Gigantamax form that's very fitting, but because we're not in Galar anymore, we're probably not going to see that Gigantamax form in any other form of media for a very long time, which is why I feel like a bigger, just brickier style Snorlax with a new Steel typing would go absolutely insane. So that just about wraps it up for my little batch from Generation 1. For the most part, when it comes to Gen 1, most of the Pokemon that probably need or deserved a Mega Evolution got one already. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, no, I think we're pretty good for the most part on Generation 1. Of course, if none of those get it, that's totally fine. But at the very least, I would like to see Dragonite. Please, I'm begging. I'm begging if I had to pick one. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Generation 2, starting with Azumarill. This Pokemon has grown on me so much within the last couple of years of using it that I would just love to see it get that extra buff from a Mega Evolution solely for fun. It doesn't really need it because it already got that nice buff from the Fairy typing back in 6th generation, but I would still like to see it get a new cool design and maybe some stat buffs just for fun. On a very similar note, I would also like to see Granbull get some kind of recognition, especially because it was already ignored for so long and then they switched its primary typing to Fairy, so I think that it could absolutely benefit from getting a second typing from Mega Evolution, whether it be some kind of normal or steel or something like that, just to add on to it, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Granbull could really benefit from that. This one, solely because I think it would be funny, but Miltank. Miltank does not need a Mega Evolution, although it could absolutely benefit from at least like a new typing or something like that. I just want it solely because it would sound really funny. Mega Miltank? Bro, you want to get rocked by a Mega Miltank? I know you don't. I know you don't. I would love to see it just to have it exist, solely because of that. And lastly, on my Gen 2 list, I would have to give it to Ursaring, because why has this Pokemon been ignored for so long now? For the most part, whenever I would do Nuzlocke over the last couple of years, when I would get my hands on an Ursaring, I would absolutely love using it. It's not like the most amazing Pokemon or anything like that, but I feel like it could absolutely benefit from an extra typing, whether it be like Steel for like Metal Claw or something like that, I don't know. But I could really see it getting some kind of real genuine buff from Mega Evolutions. I feel like this is one of the more like solely deserving Pokemon of that extra buff from Mega Evolution. And so that just about wraps it up for the Generation 2 batch. This is another situation in which I feel like a lot of Pokemon from Gen 2 definitely deserve a proper buff, especially because, again, like I said a couple of videos ago, a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon feel really ignored for some reason. And I don't know why that is. There's a lot of great designs and stuff like that in Generation 2, and a lot of Pokemon that are still very much viable if they were to get the proper buffs. But for the most part, that just about does it for that. Let's go ahead and move on to Generation 3. Now this one's going to be a little bit of a shorter list solely because we literally got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which gave us a lot of Mega Evolutions from that specific generation. So essentially, either they already got a Mega Evolution or they didn't really need it. Which is why there's only 3 Pokemon on this list right now. Let's go ahead and start with Exploud, another Pokemon which I really do believe deserves an absolute buff because it is such an underrated Pokemon. I would always love using Exploud. It was one of my favorite Pokemon in Generation 3, and it still is. Either some kind of Steel typing or Fairy typing to add on to that normal typing would be absolutely busted, and I would love to see it get an even bigger, louder type Mega Evolution because it deserves it. When used correctly, it's not that bad of a Pokemon in my book. After that, of course, would be Hariyama, because again, this Pokemon is weirdly really ignored for some reason, and I don't understand why that is. Now, of course, I don't think that it's in absolute need of a desperate buff or anything like that. It's okay as is, but I think a really cool design with that extra typing of either normal or steel could really help complement its movesets. And lastly, and most obviously, Flygon. Why in hell does Flygon not have a Mega Evolution? The only reason as to why I can see Flygon not getting a Mega Evolution is because somewhere in the developer's room it came down to Flygon and Salamence, and for whatever reason, they gave Salamence that super weird design for its Mega Evolution. I don't know, man. I love Salamence, I truly do, but if I had to pick between the two, I would absolutely give it over to Flygon because Flygon needed a Mega Evolution much more than Salamence ever did. Some kind of new design to really complement the fact that it's more of a dragonfly and it really like emphasizes its speed somehow. I think that could really mesh well. You're gonna hear me say this a lot, but again, I thought that Flygon was a shoo-in when we got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire announced to us, but apparently that was never in the books. So that just about wraps it up for Generation 3. Again, I couldn't really think of too many because a lot of them already did get Mega Evolutions in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And while there are a few Pokemon that I do believe would benefit from Mega Evolutions, I feel like there are some that would benefit even more from regional variants. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking about that very soon. So now it's about time we finally move on to Generation 4, my personal favorite of the bunch. Now I'm going to say this for a lot of the upcoming generations, however, I would love it if any of the starters got Mega Evolutions. Obviously, just a couple of videos ago, we talked about the possibility of Empoleon actually getting some kind of Mega Evolution in this game, as it might very possibly be our starter for Legends ZA. I have absolutely no idea what kind of additions or what kind of type change I would make to it, but I think it would be cool regardless to have a Mega Evolution for Empoleon. I'll be honest, I don't really have much of anything to say about Torterra getting one because I don't know what else I would change for Torterra. It's literally perfect. I love Torterra. However, when it comes to Infernape, I feel like there's a lot of potential there. If it were up to me personally, as far as its design would go, I would absolutely lean into the Sun Wukong aspect. Make its fur light up a little bit, especially in the hair, maybe give it a staff, maybe some kind of Nimbus. Maybe I'm leaning too hard on Goku, I don't know, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of potential for a Mega with Infernape, and I would love to see something like that. That would not happen for this game, but if it were to get a Mega Evolution, that's what I would like to see. Now, when it comes to the rest of the Pokemon of Gen 4, we're gonna go ahead and start off with the most obvious thing that everybody that's watching this video that knows me would expect me to say. Mega Luxray. We're not wasting any time with this. As one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, me more than a lot of people are fully aware of how not that good it is in the stats department. I know. It needs some stat buffs, it needs another typing, it needs a lot of things, and I think that a Mega Evolution would absolutely do that. For a base design, I think that it's already perfect. However, I feel like for a Mega Evolution, we could absolutely lean into the fact that it has a star on its tail. Why have we not leaned more into that? I feel like if anybody deserves a signature move or something to make it usable, Luxray is the one, dude. Despite its competitive viability, it has literally been on everybody's team in everybody's playthrough of 4th gen at least one time, if not almost every time they've played through it. Like, come on, there's no way in hell that this Pokemon doesn't deserve more attention by now. That's ridiculous. What's crazy is, this Pokemon has been in literally every single game in the last 2 to 3 years. That is absurd that it has not gotten any kind of buff in those couple of years. Crazy to me. Okay, that's enough. You guys know me, I could talk about Luxray literally all day and night, but we have to move on, so I'm gonna do that now. Another Pokemon that I think is a very obvious contender is Staraptor. Maybe it's because I'm a Gen 4 junkie, but Staraptor to me has one of the best design of all the early bird Pokemon in any of the games, by far. It doesn't have terrible stats from what I've seen either. The only thing that really hinders it is its kind of lackluster level up moveset. Even then though, not terrible. The Aerial Ace Close Combat combo goes absolutely insane for me. The only thing it's missing is the fighting typing to really max out its potential, because why the hell not? I don't know what I would change design-wise, so I can't even get into that, but give it that fighting typing buff, and oh man, you've got a god on your hands. Moving along here, I also think that Roserade could really benefit from getting a Mega Evolution. Not because I believe that it desperately needs one or anything like that, but I feel like a really cool design with it sitting in the midst of a bouquet and maybe a couple of stat buffs would be really cool for it. Anytime I would get the chance to use it, I would always love utilizing its power, so I would absolutely love to see it get that little buff from a Mega. I think it would be really good. After that, we have Drifblim, because why does this thing not have a Mega Evo? This thing has some really interesting lore and one of the sickest designs for a ghost type that I've ever seen. I would absolutely love for it to have a Mega Evolution where it turned into something like a big hot air balloon or something like that, because why the hell not? Generally speaking, in the eyes of Pokemon Company, absolutely underrated ghost-type Pokemon. Would love to see it get some more recognition. After that, we're giving it to Toxicroak, because this Pokemon is not talked about nearly enough to me. I'll be honest though, I don't necessarily believe that it needs a Mega to change up anything design-wise or typing-wise, but I would still love to see it get that buff, because it absolutely deserves one. A poisonous fighting type frog, there is so many ways you could amp the hell out of that concept. But moving on here, I think that the last Pokemon from Generation 4 that I would probably give it to is probably Gliscor. Not for any insane reason or anything like that either. I think that its typing is fine, I love its design, but I would really like to see it get a buff and get a new fun design, simply just because. I like this Pokemon, that's all there is to it. I would love to see it get a Mega Evolution. There's really nothing to dig into there. So fun fact, I actually went ahead and just limited myself on this list because there's absolutely no reason as to why every single Pokemon from Generation 4 could get a Mega Evolution or should get a Mega Evolution. There's just some that I believe deserve it more than others, which is why I put those on this list. And a lot of other Pokemon that I do think kind of deserve it don't necessarily really need it. Maybe like Electivire for that extra fighting type, but that's a really obvious one, honestly. So we're just gonna go ahead and move on from that. So now we reach kind of a midpoint with 5th gen. With how hard they've been leaning into Generation 5 stuff, especially at the end of the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, I would not be surprised if we actually did see some of these Mega Evolutions come to fruition in Pokemon Legends ZA before we get like the remakes in a couple of years. And I'm just saying, they might absolutely pull an Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and just give us Mega Evolution again in the 5th gen remakes. Unlikely, but a guy can dream. Kicking things off between Samurott, Emboar, and Superior, I would love to see if any of them got Mega Evolutions in this game. Don't ask me why, but I just get the feeling that if we were to have to pick one out of the lot here to get a Mega Evolution for a situation like Legend ZA, which takes place in Kalos, I'd probably have to give it to Superior. It just kind of fits the aesthetic, if you know what I mean. But you know how it goes. If one starter gets a Mega Evolution, it's very likely that all of them could get a Mega Evolution. So I'm down for that, absolutely. Moving on to the regular Pokemon, starting up we have Zebstrika. I just think it would be badass. There's really nothing else to it. It'd be really cool if it got like another typing or something like that, but I don't really know what other typing it would get because its moveset doesn't really give it much else to work with, but regardless, I would love to see that happen. Next along here, if I had to pick another one, it would probably go to Gigalith. I love its design. It was one of my favorite designs in 5th gen of all time. Why is it not also a ground type? Absolutely, give it to that. Also, absolutely just go insane on the crystals popping out of its body. That is such a badass design. Emphasize that. Double down on that. Let's go, bro. After that, I'd probably have to hand it over to Scrafty. This is another mon that I would give it to simply because I really believe that it doesn't get enough love like it deserves, and I feel like it could benefit from that little bit of a buff, you know what I'm saying? Make it a little taller, make its pants sag even more, give it something along the lines of like a motorcycle thing or something, and it could be really cool, like a real biker gang type beat, you know what I'm saying? One of his lead designers literally said that he's supposed to be based off of a street gangster, so why don't we lean more into that? We don't have to make him rated M and hand him a gun or anything like that, but I feel like we could do a little bit more with his design to make him a little more scary, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, after that, I'm absolutely giving it right to Darmanitan. Don't know why this Pokemon does not have more of an emphasis on like its power and stuff like that. Make a Mega Evolution that really capitalizes on that because this Pokemon is really damn cool, man. Especially because its Zen mode could really emphasize like a psychic typing for a Mega Evolution to be added on. I feel like we could get something really cool out of Darmanitan, so why don't we lean more into that, yeah? After that, as much as I don't think that it needs it anymore, I'm still gonna go ahead and give one to Zoroark if I had the chance. This was, by and far, the fan favorite Pokemon of 5th gen. There was literally no contest to be had. Now I will say I am very glad that it didn't get completely ignored because you gave it the Hisuian form, and now Hisuian Zoroark is literally one of the coolest Pokemon I have ever seen in my entire life, but I feel like a Mega Evolution for base Zoroark could go absolutely insane. After that, I would like to give it to Electros if we could. Now, I'm not even saying this because it absolutely needs a buff or anything like that. Electros is actually a pretty damn good Pokemon. The problem is in its 3D design. Y'all ruined his design when you put him in 3D, and you didn't keep his swag when he was standing on the ground, when he was standing on business. I'm solely asking for a Mega Evolution for this Pokemon to fix its design. Make it cool in a Mega Evolution, and I'll forgive all of your crimes against it. That is all I ask. Another one I would give it to solely for comedic purposes is Reuniclus. I really just want to see an even bigger blob. Just an absolute mess of a blob. And it would just be so funny to have this just big nasty conglomerate thing with that little cute face in the middle. I want that. That's all I want. And then lastly, I would absolutely hand one over to Hydreigon. For the exact same reason that I would give one to Flygon or Dragonite, I think Hydreigon, as another fan favorite right behind Zoroark, absolutely could utilize one. Its Dragon Dark typing is really cool, so I don't know if I would mess with that too much, but I feel like design-wise, make the heads a little bit longer, a little bit scarier, sharper teeth and some stuff like that, and I feel like we could have a real, like, Cerberus-esque dragon on our hands, you know what I'm saying? Maybe something along the lines of, like, the Gleeox from Tears of the Kingdom. I think that would go absolutely crazy as a design for a Pokemon. So that just about does it for 5th gen. Let's go ahead and move over to 6th gen, another generation that I think obviously has a very high chance of some of these coming to actual fruition. Once again, starting with the starters. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, I don't really care if Chestnut gets any recognition whatsoever. I hate that thing's design, and a Mega Evolution will not fix that because it's so temporary that it really wouldn't do anything beneficial. As far as like Greninja, you could absolutely just kind of make Ash Greninja like its own thing, just make it Mega Greninja. It doesn't need to be, I never understood what Ash Greninja was. I really got to go back and watch that season again because I don't understand what was going on there or why that happened or why it wasn't its own thing to just be Mega Greninja at that point. So yeah, just lean more into that and we've got a great Mega in our hands. And then, of course, there's Delphox. I would like to see a real, like, mage type situation, a real wizard type beat, you know what I'm saying, for Delphox in a Mega Evolution. I think that'd be really cool. Don't really need to buff it too badly or change any of its typings, so it would just be kind of a for fun little mini buff. Starting off for the regular Pokemon, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Pangoro if I have the option, because Pangoro is so damn cool. Give it a big old bamboo weapon. Oh my goodness, this could be the sickest Mon of all time. I swear to God, give it the Mega. You guys won't, you cowards. Give him the Mega Evo. I swear. After that, I feel like this is probably the only one that's guaranteed to most likely get a Mega, but Aegislash. Fits the aesthetic, it's got a nice design that could be altered very easily for a Mega Evolution because it's a sword. So there's lots of other different swords it could potentially turn into with a Mega Evolution. Me personally, this would never happen, but a Buster Sword would go insane. This would never happen, but I'm just saying, I would love to see it happen just because Aegislash is a really cool Pokemon. After that, I'm probably gonna go ahead and hand it over to Noivern. The only thing that I could see them primarily changing is like maybe the typing. Me personally, I think that Dragon is a cool typing for it. Doesn't really utilize that all that much to me though. As a special attacker, I feel like it could really benefit from becoming like a ghost type, or even for the sole purpose of maximizing the potential of Boom Burst, making it a normal type, but I don't think it's worth making a Mega entirely revolved around one move, so I feel like it could work out a lot better if it became like a ghost type to really throw off opponents, you know what I'm getting at? After that, I would love to give one to Trevenant, not for any other purpose other than design-wise, solely because I want it to be an even bigger tree. I want to fight with a real, like, Great Deku tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that design would be insanely funny to fight with a freaking tree on the field. That would be incredible to me. That's all I want. And lastly, this one is obviously going to get one. I just want to say it to really like stamp my foot down and just kind of solidify that I also want this. Zygarde. Obviously. Before the announcement of ZA, we never officially got a Pokemon Z, so essentially Zygarde just kind of got swept under the rug until some random 7th gen side quest came along and we just had to like collect its pieces for whatever reason. I still gotta understand what was going on there, but for the most part, it's very obvious that with its name on the title, it's gonna get a Mega Evolution. I'm just solidifying the fact that I really want that to happen. That's all there is to it here. So that just about does it for 6th gen. I would be absolutely, truly shocked if we did not get some kind of Mega Evos for 6th gen Pokemon in a game that's based in the 6th gen location of Kalos. But then again, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised, because they literally did that when they first introduced Mega Evolutions. We didn't get any 6th gen Mega Evos. At all! Whatever, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, this is the time to take that chance and fix that. Moving along here, we now have my Gen 7 picks. As far as the starters go, I don't really think any of them need one all that bad. I think it would just be a for fun situation because their typings are all really good as is and they have really good movesets and stuff like that. So if they were to get megas, it would just be a fun buff, because why the hell not? Starting off with the regular Pokemon, we have Beware, because Beware is so badass as a concept. It's legitimately a giant plushie come to life. Let's go ahead and just capitalize on that, make it an even bigger monstrosity of a plushie, and you've got a phenomenal design on your hands. I don't think too much tweaking needs to be done to the typing. After all, its normal and fighting type really does complement its movesets, so unless you want to make it like a dark type for fun to really complement like Brutal Swing or something like that, I don't think it's all that necessary to change the typing. Just give it that extra buff for fun. After that, I would give it to Mimikyu. Can you tell that I like ghost type Pokemon? Because I really like ghost type Pokemon. Now, I'll be completely honest, this one doesn't really need too much of a buff. I really just want a Mega solely for the purpose of seeing what it's hiding under that Pikachu costume. I absolutely love the fact that the real thing is hiding within this little costume, and I would love to see it just burst to life out of this costume in a Mega Evolution. I think that would be so sick. And then the last Pokemon that I would probably pick from the bunch here to give a Mega Evolution might probably go to Golisopod. I don't know if a Mega Evolution can change an ability. I don't remember if that's a thing, but if it does, that's what Golisopod needs, because the only reason that this Pokemon gets ignored as bad as it does is because its ability is terrible. It takes it out of battle at half health. That is so stupid to me. It's so annoying. And there's like no hidden abilities or anything that you can do to change that. It's just stuck like that. So it's like, what's even the point, man? Why even bother? At the very least, I would like to give it a Mega Evolution so it could hit a little bit harder. If it's gonna be a weenie, at least make it hit as hard as hell before it's forced out of the battle. But yeah, now that I look at my list, 7th gen isn't really all that packed up either, but I don't really think that that's that big of a deal because a lot of 7th gen Pokemon are actually pretty damn good as they are, so we could just go ahead and leave it at that. So now we finally move things over to 8th generation. Once again, the starters getting Mega Evolutions would be really cool, but I did say specifically in my previous video that I would love to see Cinderace get a Mega Evolution because it's so anime as hell as it is in a Gigantamax form. It would be so sick to get like a smaller version of whatever that is in a Mega form. But like I keep saying, if one starter gets a Mega Evolution, it's likely that all of them are getting Mega Evolutions. So if all of them got Mega Evolutions, that would be sick as hell. Moving down to the regular list here, we start things off with Corviknight, a Pokemon whose design is absolutely stellar. I feel like we could really lean more into that Iron Bird design and make it just a little bit stronger in the stats department to really make it worth more as a Pokemon, because from what I remember, its stats aren't like incredible or anything like that, but I feel like we could do some tweaking, and with a Mega Evolution, I feel like the buff would help it a lot. So I think that Corviknight genuinely deserves one. After that, I'm gonna go ahead and just toss one over to Dubwool as well. Mostly for design purposes, I want the biggest, fluffiest sheep thing we could ever get. That's all I want. I really just want it for design purposes. But I feel like that extra buff, maybe like an extra grass typing or something like that, could make it really cool if they wanted to do something like that. I don't know. We'd have to play around with that idea a little bit. But I would love it if Dubwool got a Mega Evo. Plain and simple. Another Pokemon from this generation that I would love to see with a Mega Evolution specifically would have to be Obstagoon. Zigzagoon to Linoon in the original pretty much had almost nothing to offer. Obstagoon is almost there. It has a little bit to offer, but I feel like a little bit of a buff to really make it hit a little bit harder would be kind of in order. It doesn't have the most amazing moveset off rip, but you can teach it a lot of good moves, pretty much any of the elemental punches, Mega Kick, and stuff like that, and I feel like a Mega Evolution could really help buff that. Design-wise, it is absolutely my favorite Pokemon in 8th gen, no contest. I want to see this Pokemon thrive so much more. And then the last Pokemon that I'm going to give it to here is Dracopult. Literally only for the exact same reason that I'm giving it to pretty much any other dragon type on this list. If Garchomp can get one, then all of them can get one. A Mega Evolution that design-wise and stat-wise capitalizes on its speed as a dragon would be fire to me. And so I think that it absolutely deserves one, even if it weren't in competition with pretty much any other dragon type in the entirety of the series. But I like Dragapult. I would love to give it one if I had the opportunity. And finally, we have reached 9th generation. Once again, I am perfectly fine with any or all of the starters getting Mega Evolutions. However, I could see a situation in which Sprigatito absolutely gets one for this generation as one of the most likely starters. But again, I could be wrong. Either way, I would love to see any or all of them with Mega Evos. Moving on to our final batch of regular Pokemon here, we're going to go ahead and start off with Armarouge, and by proxy, Ceruledge. If we're being completely honest with ourselves here, neither of these Pokemon really need a buff like that. I just think that they're so damn cool, and a Mega Evolution would be just so badass for both of them. Literally just because. That's it. I'm just saying right now, if either of those Pokemon got Mega Evolutions, I'm pretty sure that's the only Mega Evolutions I'm going to be using on my team throughout the most of the game. I'm not even kidding you, bro. After that, I would probably have to give one over to Bellibolt. I think that it's really strange that because of its design and a lot of the moves it can learn, that it's not a water type. Teach it a couple of water type moves, give it a water typing for its Mega Evolution, and you've got yourselves a pretty badass Pokemon on your hands. And then the last Pokemon that I would probably hand it over to is most likely Tinkaton. This is another one mostly for design purposes. I would just love to make it a little bit taller, a little bit more fierce, and make its hammer gold to kind of complete the cycle that it's got going. Tinkaton as a Pokemon as is currently is totally fine. I would just love to make it a little broken so it's even more fun to play with in that kind of world. But for the most part, that just about does it for a lot of Mega Evolutions that I would love to see going into this game. Oh my goodness, this video is over 30 minutes. I need to get going here. Overall, I expect to see like maybe 2 or 3 or maybe even none of the Pokemon on this list get a Mega Evolution besides maybe Zygarde. But overall, I think it's just a for fun situation. No matter what Mega Evolutions we get, I feel like we're going to have a lot of fun with them, and they're usually really good at designing Mega Evolutions as we've seen. So I think it should be really, really cool to see what we get. But I really gotta go. So I'm gonna go ahead, toss the mic over to you right now and skedaddle, and I'll let you tell me everything that you guys are thinking. Do you think that any of these Pokemon listed here are viable for Mega Evolution? Do you think that I'm out of my mind and none of them need Mega Evolutions? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always gonna be down there with you guys. But with that, it is time for me to skedaddle. More than time for me to skedaddle. So I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I am gonzo. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.